Hey YouTube, it's Kryber here with another PortSwigger Web Academy Solutions video. Today I'll be going through a couple labs from the API learning path in regards to API recon, API enumeration, and exploiting API endpoints. If you don't know, an API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it allows for systems to communicate with each other by extracting data and sending data in a format that's both machine readable to the systems and may also be human readable as well. So one of the most important things when it comes to API testing, especially for pen testers and bug hunters, is to look for API documentation. This may be publicly available and it will usually explain how an API endpoint works. So that's very valuable in testing an API to see if you can find any bugs or anything wrong or any exposed information. So in this first lab, it's about exploiting an API endpoint by locating that API documentation. And to solve this lab, we have to find and expose API documentation and delete the user, Carlos. And we are also provided with some credentials here, Wiener, Peter. And to solve this lab, PortSwigger recommends that you check out the API recon excerpt they provided here and also the API documentation. Alright, so as you can see, I have burp running in the background as well. But let's start this lab. But here we have the We Like to Shop application. We have some products and you can view details on the products. Here we see ratings and costs as well. But we're not too concerned about that right now. We're just trying to find API documentation that will allow us to delete a user from this application. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is to ensure that the burp proxy is on. We go ahead and set the scope. Generally, I use advanced scope control, but won't need that right now. Yes. We use the burp filter, show only in scope items. Okay, great. So now we're only seeing data coming from the application itself. Alright, so let's go back to our browser. And let's log in and see what information we can find there. Alright, so let's go ahead and log in. Wiener, Peter. Okay, great. So we're logged in. So there's not much information here. We see that our username is Wiener, of course, and our email is wiener@normal-user.net. And we also have a field here that we can update our email. So let's go back to burp sitemap and let's see what information we can find here. Alright, so scrolling through, looking for anything that says API. Yep, right here, API/user. Alright, so this is interesting. Let's send that over to repeater. And I kind of color it here so it stands out whenever I'm scrolling back through here. Alright, so let's go over to repeater. And if we send this request, get URL/API/user, we get an HTTP 401 unauthorized. So we don't have the authorization to manipulate this endpoint. So let's remove the /user. We get a HTTP 200. That's a good sign. Alright, so let's render this page and see what we're taking a look at. Now we have access to the API endpoint. And here we can see a GET request, a DELETE request, and a patch request available. Alright, so let's copy this URL. Copy here and copy URL. Let's go back to our browser. Let's go ahead and input this URL. And we can actually turn off burp proxy now. Okay, so we hover over the delete command, we double click, we get a field here, and you can enter a username as a string. So enter Carlos. All right, and if you look down here, you can also see a curl command that could be used in the terminal to also send this request. So let's send. There we have it, folks. Deleted user. And we also see a status here, user deleted. And that's how you solve this lab. Thanks for watching, guys. Moving on to the next one.